All right, we are recording for the description of our product photography project. So again, what we're trying to do is to make products look really good with photography. And really what it comes down to in product photography is the camera is the last thing you do, like actually taking the photo. Products are all about setting up a product, cleaning the product, have a nice background, maybe cleaning the background, and then figuring out your light, and then how we can add or fill in light to make our products look really good. So what you're going to be doing is 8 total shots. That may not seem like a lot, but it is more prep work, like setting up your product in your background and your light, and then shooting it. Out of those 8 photos, 3 of the shots will be using white fill, and so that's where you're going to, if you put the light on the side, you're going to fill in the shadow side either with a white or 3 shots using black reduction. So it's probably the first time you've heard that term before. Black reduction means we can control the shadow amount. And if we have a shiny surface product with a shiny reflective surface, you'll see black reflected on a shiny surface product. If it's a matte or textured surface product, it's basically going to increase the shadow. And so we can basically keep reducing the amount of shadow. And then 2 shots where you pick the lighting. So again, you could try a different light angle. You could use multiple lights, just a different kind of combination than your previous 6 photos. You could also reflect with like a color or second light. I've seen students use like colored gels or like the lights that change colors and do that as a second light. That's cool too. Out of your photos, I want you to shoot 3 different product types. One with a shiny surface, so something that has a good shine to it, like this bottle, it's got shine, right? It reflects stuff. So shiny glass, shiny plastic, shiny metal, right? I got this product here. This is a product I shot, product post photo. You can see it reflects everything as a shiny surface. The cap is matte, right? Not much reflection. For matte surfaces, that would be anything where it doesn't really have a shine to it. So something that's flat, right? This is a little hard drive, but pretty rubber, no real shine to it. So think about, objects that have basically a no shine surface, a matte surface. Say that'd be your second product type. And then your last one is something with a textured surface. So textured surface is just something where you can actually see bumps or, textures, maybe it's, fur texture or, hard, rough textures, right? So anything with like a textured surface. So this one I was showing, I have this really old Kodak camera, and you can see, let's see if I can get this, you can see the kind of leather texture on the surface. You can really see the texture and actually touch and feel it. And it's got texture in a lot of it. So it's kind of a good example. It's kind of beat up and worn up. It's got all kinds of rough leather textures happening on that. So again, for your 8 photos, you're going to shoot 3 different product types. One with a shiny surface, so reflective surface. One with a flat matte surface, so no shine. And then one with some texture on it. And that's, you'll see once you start lighting it, how it kind of changes for a shiny surface, a matte surface, and a texture surface, especially with your white fills and your black reductions. For editing, I want you guys to think about cropping and doing global adjustments to your photos. I'll be doing that editing demo on Friday. Spot healing it to clean up any dust that maybe is on your product or on your backgrounds, and just trying to basically clean it up. So I want you to upload the 8 finished images, the 8 edited images, either to a Flickr album or Google Doc or Slide. And this one is worth 60 points. So I'm giving more points because it is more effort, a lot more setup. So 40 points for the quality of your photos, 20 points for either presenting it during class or adding descriptions on how you made your photos. So for the descriptions, I would talk about what camera did you use, what did you use for your background, did you clean your products before you put them, did you arrange them in any specific way, what type of light source did you use, and what did you use for your white fill or your black reduction, and how did you edit your photos. So again, this isn't due until Tuesday, January 5th. And I have some retouching links and kind of inspiration product photography links here. If you want to check those out, I'll be sharing the one with Peter McKinnon. But first I wanted to share some student examples. Sorry, any questions before I get into showing examples? Wasn't the camera from the 20s or 40s? Yeah, that one is really old. That camera is probably from the 30s. It is one of the first kind of cameras that was sold to like the masses, like for real public use. Good question. Where in the 20s? I mean, it was all over America. You know, Kodak company was mostly on the East Coast, but they were selling those old cameras to, you know, in the, we are in the 20s. Oh, we're talking about 1920s. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, not the 2020s, the 1920s. So like 100, that camera's like 90 years old. So it's really, really old. All right, so for student examples, so originally you guys would be working in groups in the classroom, and you guys would be using strobes and being able to set up your products and then lighting them using different types of reflecting and different types of fills. And so you can see here this group was using sunglasses, the watch in the box, and then the little cross on jewelry, right? And so they did a good job. Each of them, they talked about, you know, in the description what type was which. So these were their black fills, or black reduction as it's known. So that's where on a shiny surface it adds a black reflection. On a, you know, textured surface, it'll basically increase the shadow. You can actually see kind of a black edge here happening. That's increasing the shadow with the black reduction. And then on this one, right, again, you can see much more dark shadow on the left side, increasing the shadow. This one, they used a gold reflector. You can see it kind of lined up and filled in the shadow side. This was a gold reflector on the shades. You can really see it really well. You can see the gold here on the textured surface of the box. And then the gold fill on the cross. This one was a silver fill, so they shot some more. And the silver really kind of filled in the shadows. You know, before with the black, see how much darker these shadows are? And then with the silver fill, it filled it all up. And then silver fill on the watch. And then, so they just tried some kind of different white fills just to kind of see the difference of what white, silver, and gold would do. And so they shot 12 photos, which was a little bit more, but just kind of showing you. This one, we used a piece of sheet metal as the background, and they set up their little cosmetic, you know, brushes and makeup compacts. They used a ring. Jewelry's good. Just keep in mind, jewelry is very small. Watches are a good size. So this one, we had a reflective surface that had a shine to it, so it could reflect the watch. And this one was shooting on the metal. And then they tried different types of fills. This is our, you know, gold fill, black reduction, silver fill. This one they edited and cropped it, right? So they centered in the frame, removed some of the dust particles, and try to clean it up, you know, make it look nice. I'm gonna show a couple more examples. So this one, we used the rock to kind of place the product next to it, and so it could kind of tilt it. So this was our white fill, our black reduction. See how much darker the shadow side is. Silver fill. This was a white fill, black reduction. Notice the difference on this, right? So you can use the case that comes with your product. That's kind of a nice way to display it sometimes. So look at the difference between the black reduction and the white fill, right? Really see a difference. And this was the gold fill as a different option. So we fortunately got to work with the food, all the culinary arts classes. And so they made some foods and they brought it in and had some students shoot it. And so we shot a little macaroni and then this cool strawberry blueberry shortcake, which looked pretty good. And then Pringles, right? I just kind of show the food. And then last one. So again, use a black background with a shiny surface, shooting the little Kate Spade. This little clutching was a good size. You don't want stuff too big, but you can kind of see here the different lighting what's happening. This was the edited photo. It really brought out the texture and the sharpness and the brightness really well. And then they got their beads. So this was just, you know, 2 white pieces of construction paper as our background. And then trying different lighting on it. This is the black reduction. Earring setup. You know, different lighting on the earrings. So. Cool. Any questions so far? All right. So I wanted to share some of my product photography. I've worked with a lot of different companies over the years, shooting various types of products from jewelry. This was for a fashion label. This is like a bracelet we shot on white. Actually, I'll go full screen here. Hold on. Here we go. Some bracelets. This one was kind of challenging. They wanted the bag to kind of be in the air. So what I did is I used like a metal wire to kind of hold it up. And then I just removed that in Photoshop and then filled up the bag so it looked kind of full. This is for a essential oils brand for health and well-being. So they sent me the bottles and then they sent me the main ingredients in these. So some had mushrooms, goji berries, ginger root, different other types of roots that are super good for you. So they wanted like an overhead flat lay where I'm shooting overhead the products and to arrange it in a nice way. And so the cool thing about product photography, sometimes you go and shoot the products at their, at their studio, their store, or their, offices. And other times, they send the product to you and then you just shoot it on your own time at home, right? Which is pretty nice. And so I got to spend my time figuring out my lighting, figuring out the angle, placing the products and the objects together. Some of you guys might know Movement watches, MVMT, Movement watches. So one of my friends from soccer, her brother started the company and she works for them as well. And so they send me watches and I'll shoot them. So I did an edit where I put it, I shot it on a white background, but then basically put it in the clouds just for fun. This is what they actually wanted. They wanted the shots on like different kind of wood or marble backgrounds. And so this one I actually shot on a white background, then I cut it out, and then I added a fake shadow to look like it was actually on this wood. I got the wood photo later. This was the same thing. I shot all these photos separately, and then put it on a different marble background, and then added the shadows. This one I shot it outdoors, because I wanted some like with natural textures and stuff outside. On the little, agave plant. This was at the beach. This one I used a reflector to fill in the shadows. I've shot, lots of handbags for fashion companies. This was with the model, obviously. This was all shot downtown San Diego. So when I was at Art Center is really known for its transportation design. Transportation design are people that would go into working for car companies. And so this was a conceptual design a student made for a rover that would go on like the moon and for Honda. And so once they go through their last year, they make a official prototype. They start off with like sketches, computer renderings, then they make a clay model, then they actually spend actually like $2,000 to $4,000 to actually make the final model. They can be pretty big sometimes. And so this was the final model, and they need nice photos of it, to use for promoting the designs they make and for themselves. And so I worked with the transportation models. So this one was for Volkswagen. It was sort of like a kind of dune buggy convertible type car where this top part could come off. And so that's why I showed it kind of clear. So I took a photo with it on and a second photo without it off, and then lowered the opacity in Photoshop to make it look like it's clear. This is it where I did a light painting. And so I did a long exposure like we did for our last project. I set my camera up on a tripod, used a handheld light, and then I would light the car from different angles for like 20 seconds. And then, I could really fine tune where the light goes. And a little light up piece, which is kind of cool here. This was a composite, so I shot this in a studio. by itself, and then I took a photo of the Coast Highway in Carlsbad and a car driving by, some stuff in the foreground. I added a little radial blur here and then a motion blur to the background around the car. This again was a light painting for a Bugatti concept car. And then this was the Puma soccer cleat. And so I really love this cleat because it had cool textures, had these like ripples and dimples and cool textures. And then when you get a light on it, it had this kind of hologram effect on the actual skin of the boot. And so I did a light painting on that, lighting it from different angles, and then I added the backgrounds around it after, the kind of effects. So I always kind of like to play with my photos and just kind of make them look a little more unique and different than everyone else. And then did like a fire edit, you know, for fun. So when I was at Art Center, I, you know, didn't have a lot of money. And so I was trying to think of how to shoot products and like nice products. And like, how could I shoot a nice product and not spend a lot of money? And so I was talking to other students, and other students recommend, it's like, well, you could always buy a product, and depending on the company's return policy, you could, you know, as long as you didn't actually like scuff up the product or damage it, you could return it after you shot it. So I went and bought the most expensive pair of Nike cleats they had. They're like $200 cleats. And I took some photos of it and then brought it back, and they refunded me my money. So, so this is one where, again, I used light paint. I lit one edge, lit a second edge, another edge, and then I did kind of waving the light in front of the camera to capture those light streaks like we did for light painting. So to get the most out of that one pair of cleats, originally this was the green was the original color, and so I changed it to yellow here, and then I changed it to blue here just to get more variety. This is the green underview. Really cool carbon fiber details here. Man, this is a company I've worked with. They're men's skincare. Again, using different lighting techniques like light painting, did a multiple shot, did the gift bags. So all these were shot individually and then put together in Photoshop. So lots of different products, some on people. This one I was really proud of. So I have the blackberry flying into the glass. This was like a champagne I bought. And I took a bunch of tries dropping this blackberry. And I was using strobes so I could freeze it as it went in. So I had to take like 30 shots where I'd try to drop it and to get it perfectly timed so it was like in the glass. So that was a difficult shot. So outdoor shots for movement. And then I think that's pretty much, oh, here we go. So this one I did Nike Mercurial cleats, like the idea of mercury, which is like a liquid metal. And so I took these wave photos I'd shot and did an edit so it looked like, you know, liquid metal around the cleat, which was kind of cool. All of these were shot just on a white background, and then I cut it out in Photoshop. So cool. All right, so again, just a quick recap. We're going to do 8 total product shots, 3 shots using a white fill. So we're going to basically fill in the shadow side with either white or silver like we've done before. 3 shots using black reduction, so we can either increase the shadows or put a black reflection if it's a shiny surface. And then 2 where you try some different lighting. I want you to try 3 different types of products, shiny, matte, and a textured surface product. And then you're going to adjust these photos. So the plan is tomorrow I'll be doing a little lighting demo at home. Friday I'll be doing the editing demo. So then you should have 3 videos you could watch while you're on winter break working on these. I did want to share part of this video from Peter McKinnon. If you don't know Peter McKinnon, he's a very has a very big YouTube following, very well-renowned photographer from Canada. And you can see this video has 1,200,000 views. I think he's got 5.19 million subscribers. So very popular photographer. A lot of people like watching his videos because he's got a good energy. I'm just gonna show you chunks of this video, not the whole thing. You're welcome to watch it on your own time.
What's up, everybody? Peter McKinnon here. Welcome back to another video. Today is a tutorial, but I'm pumped about today's tutorial because it's one of my favorite things. We're going to do just that. I figured instead of just sitting here for the next 10 minutes and talking to you about it, which I could very easily do because I'm pumped. So here's the setup. Maddie's going to just like browse through my office and choose two things. We only need like two. For me to photograph. Then we're going to take those two things, go to the antique shop, and I'm going to try to look for some props, look for some things that like support those two items that each.
So they pick two products, and then they go to an antique store and start looking around and trying to find things that would work as like things to put around the product. And so they kind of look at different, objects and trying to find textures. And so I'm just going to kind of zoom ahead real quick. Here we go. It's going to show an ad real quick. Hold on.
Fred Smith here told us that B&H Photo helped change his life. Fred, tell us your story.
Okay, now that we have our box of props, I can begin to set everything up and kind of stylize the little theme, little set that I'm going to build to take the photos of the objects that Maddie selected. We have our old vintage camera. That's number one. Like an old pencil case. I liked the texture of this. I think that'll look good on camera. We have some old postcards and photographs that I'll take out of these sleeves and just kind of crumple up. Bought that old Ford wrench. An old, what is this, Pennsylvania trailer. Super rusty license plate. Again, texture. Texture is everything. This has plenty of it. And then we got this little tin we looked at right at the beginning, and then the box itself. Okay, so all in all, this was like $100. Now, you don't have to spend that much money, but these are props that you will have forever unless you throw them out. So you can reuse them and use them in other photographs and other projects on sets and films. They're props, so you can use them whenever you would need props. The other bonus is I have this crate, so I just keep all this stuff in this crate, throw this in the basement, and then whenever I need something, I can go down there, check, see if I have something that works. If I don't, whatever. If I do, probably going to be in this box, which also doubles as its own prop. So now it's time to stylize and set up this shot. Item number one. All right, so this is essentially the setup for the shot. We got that tin half open. We got the texture of the inside of the tin right here. We got this nice texture of this old school pencil case. These are the strings that close the pencil case that just look cool, kind of loosely just hanging out right there. We got the wrench in there for added kind of industrial, gritty looking feel. And then we got the box itself, the old school box with the nice window light kind of hitting the side of that bronze. And maybe we'll shoot it in this way with the macro, and it should look something like this. So again, as you can see, like I'm not trying to make this video super cinematic. I'm trying to show you guys how raw things can be.
So you can see a setup. You just got close to these windows here, right? Made sure they're kind of diffuse. So we have a nice kind of soft light on our products. And so very simple setup. He just kind of found cool textures to put around the product and, being able to kind of control the placement. And so this was his second setup with the vintage camera.
Shot the frame. But the reason I chose this angle is because I liked the way the light was hitting the lens here, coming in from the door. I liked that it was hitting this lens real nice. So this frame kind of cropped in tight with that macro lens. And that ended up looking the best for me.
Pretty cool. Really talented photographer, really good at describing and getting people inspired about photography. That's why he's got such a massive following. So I just wanted to share that. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.